welcome to the 4th annual Bushcraft get-together. You know, this started very small, and I've said the message several times, several years before, but I was alone in doing this stuff that I like to do outside. And there weren't many people around. I watched a few channels, and there was one guy who had this really interesting stuff that he would make geodesic domes, and he burned little candles, and he tried to see how he could light fire, and he would make teepees nowadays.
Don't forget the hot tub.
Oh, the hot tub.
That was my favorite.
And they like to hike along railroad tracks. Well, we talked over the phone, and we said, well, let's meet halfway between us, and we each traveled about 9 hours and got to a place in Texas. I live in Texas. Texas is big. And I said, can we ask to see if anybody else, so I called around, and there were a total of 4 of us who came.
Cool.
And those other folks would like to be here, but other life circumstances prevent them from being here. And so anyway, we had a blast. And about the same time, I was talking to this guy, Billy Joe, and he had some really interesting ideas. And he said, you know, in the old days, people would trade with one another. And so we started trading things. And I said, well, let's meet. And so let's meet. I bet you would like to meet this other guy who likes to walk around railroad tracks and do all sorts of interesting things. And so we met, and that was here 3 years ago. And we invited more people. That time we had about 15. How many of you from that? That was the meetup where it rained. We had about 15 people there. Quite a few of you have returned. It was the best time ever because it rained and we learned a lot and we had fun. The important thing is we're learning from each other. None of us are experts. We are all learning, and that's the way people did in the past. The word bushcraft is an invented word. We just did things that were fun. We were just talking about that. Bushcraft is invented. Anyway, as a word. So then we had another meetup, and we had what, 47 people? And in this meetup, I think there are about 60 or 70 folks. And so we're pretty much a full house. And what we plan to do is to, again, learn from each other. So we're going to have a little group supper this evening. We're also going to figure out who does what and who would want to share what information with each other. And Billy Joe will talk a little bit about that, how that group sharing, and like who might want to lead hikes, and who would do this, who knows how to carve spoons perhaps, how we're going to do that sort of stuff. And that can also be done in addition as classes. It can be done when we're going to have a time set aside for skill practice. And we'll practice, as an example, lighting primitive fire. Now I'm going to be honest with you, I didn't know how to take a flint and steel and make a spark and make the ember actually turn into a fire. I didn't know how to do that because when I grew up we didn't do that, we did other things. We used matches. By the way, I want to tell you this, there's nothing wrong with using matches. Nothing wrong at all. In fact, if you read the books from the 1800s, after matches were invented, every frontiers person, wherever they could go and they found matches available, they would get them and keep them in a match safe. And if you can read the books after the Civil War, they were told, people after the Civil War had forgotten. After a few years after the Civil War, they forgot those skills that you needed to survive because they had all moved into the city. So books were written that described to the young people who were in their 20s and 30s that missed that war, how to survive, how to be outdoors, and when you have matches, put them in a match safe. They didn't talk about flint and steel because people like to use the newest technology, just like we do today. We're learning some of the older technologies here. So anyway, I didn't know how to use flint and steel. I had people from all over the world trying to show me, and they'd send me videos. Sandy Jack, who makes these beautiful jaguar knives, and many other people tried to instruct me. I couldn't figure it out. And what I was holding things wrong. I didn't know it until that Bushcraft meetup was it 2 years ago? 2 years ago. We learned it right here. You will have the chance to learn primitive fire skills, whatever ones you want to practice or learn from each other here at this meetup. And this guy right here is the guy who taught me. And all of you have different skills, different ways of lighting fire, different ways of doing everything. And that's what we want to share. Come on, time for you to talk.
Welcome, welcome. We've already done a lot since we've been here. There's already been a nice class done over here. Now, is William here? The one that taught the trapping class over there? Well, I don't see him.
He's still at the campsite.
Anyway, for some of you that may have missed that, I'm sure he'd be glad to show you some of them traps and stuff he done over there again. We are going to be doing some primitive fire. I brought just some stuff there, and I'm sure probably some of you guys have some of your own charge-ins and rocks and different things like that. Maybe we can all get together and help some of the people that want to learn how to do some of this stuff. Now, I've kind of switched over to a wick method that I use, and I've got an old Sears and Roebuck knife that knocks a great spark where I can light a wick, and I don't even char material anymore because the wick actually chars itself as it gets burnt down. But we do have some primitive, we're going to be doing some primitive skill practice, and I don't know if anybody brought any yucca stalks or mullein stalks or anything like that. They're kind of out of season now to pick. So we probably won't be able to do much on the hand drills or anything, but we can work on the bow drills and some of the other techniques. As far as the hikes, we're basing it on weather. I know we're going to be working in a night hike with Ken. It's just back over here behind the station, just about a mile long. It's kind of a handicap hike. It'll be a slow moving thing. So anybody that's welcome to join that. We're going to be doing a hike. I don't know if we're going to be doing it today or tomorrow, but it's going to be down at, it's going to be back to Jake's Cave. It's called Jake's Hole, and it's just about 2 miles long. It's along the river, so it's not a lot of mountain terrain.
That's 2 miles one way?
I think it is 2 miles.
Okay, so it's 4 mile hike.
But it's mostly downhill.
That's what you said the last time.
Well, if it's downhill, then it'll be uphill on the way back. But anyway, it's river walk, so it's not that far. And of course, any of us can sit around just to enjoy yourselves here if you want to. Not that big of a deal. But if you want to venture out, talk to some people here, myself, get a map. There's some trails, and if you kind of buddy up, you can be picked up at trailheads and be brought back and still get to see a lot. The 10-miler that's pretty well known that some of us have been on, that we hiked during a hurricane, was probably one of the coolest hikes I've ever been on. You can actually get off of 2 different trailheads there and be picked up on the gravel road. One is the John Litton Farm loop. One is you pass that one, go to the next trailhead, and you can get picked up at the Grand Gap loop without having to do all that last 5 miles out. So I still see a lot. But with just a little partnership and get together with 5 different people, the backcountry permits and stuff like that are only $5 and it covers 5 people. So, you know, kind of just mingle a little bit and find out who wants to do things or join us whenever we pick time, depending on the weather. I'm sure we're at least going to do an overnighter.
At least one.
Now,
Gotta be at least one.
now, just because there's an overnighter, that doesn't mean that you have to go and you won't be doing things. Those who are not going on a particular hike, what we would like to see is your sharing of knowledge, whether it's more formal types of discussions or less formal. There are all sorts of things that we should be learning from each other. And what we need to do from you, and you can tell us so that we can help structure this. I know you're asking for structure. What it is that you would like to have and who has the skills to help lead that sort of discussion. So those of you who aren't on a hike, then we who are here, and I'm not gonna go on all the hikes this time. I'm gonna stay here. Those of us who are here can do other things and learn things that are here around the camp.
And it's like the overnighter, I mean, it would be difficult to take more than 10 people on an overnighter. The campsites just aren't that big. Now hammocks, I guess you could kind of hang in the bushes anywhere you wanted to, that'd be a whole nother scenario, but most of the campsites are built for not much more than 10 people. So I mean, that, we'd have to kind of fill that stuff out. You know, if any of us want to know anything about the trails around here, I know some. The rangers over there would be glad to fill your head full of all types of information, and you can get a map there as well. So we're just going to try to work this stuff in based on weather, and so far it's turned out pretty nice. I think that might be a little bit bad weather toward the end of the trip, maybe Tuesday or something like that. Now, and again, I'd hate to take somebody out like last night at 37 degrees. I know a few people showed up a little ill prepared, and that's normal because you can't never count on the weather here. So I know it got really cold. You imagine being out on the trail last night. So anyway, just pop in down into the tent. You know, don't be shy. We'll talk about it and try to work something out and make some real plans. But I'm not sure about the first night hike. I don't know if that's gonna happen this evening maybe.
It depends on the number of people who want to go on a night hike this evening. And if you don't want to do these, then we need to know how many would be doing and how many wouldn't be doing the hike. And we have other things that we can be doing that are as equally interesting. But we need to know how many and who so that we can organize it. We have purposefully left this relatively loose because we need to know what you want so that we can figure out how to provide that so that this is as useful to all of you as possible. We have people who are knowledgeable in knot tying. We have people who are knowledgeable in whittling. We have people who are knowledgeable in nearly every aspect of what we call bushcraft.
I'd probably say, you know, don't set at camp. Get around and meet some people. You know, learn some of their skills and look at some of their stuff. And then there's going to be a big trading deal going on here too. If people brought stuff to trade, we can either set it up at the individual camps or we can bring it in here and lay it all out on the tables, which worked really good last time.
Now, on the general agenda that we've set everybody, that you've seen, there is a general time for a trade. And this trade, again, you can be doing this in here or also separately as you meet people. Something in addition to the trade that worked very well last year was there was sort of like an auction where you had things that someone else might want. And you would, this is the only exception, there's no money involved in the trade with the exception of this. If you want to auction something off, the person takes it, buys it for a certain amount to provide as a donation to the cost of this event. As we said, donations to the event are voluntary, and we recommended $30 per person for the entire 4 days that you're here. And this covers our cost. We do not make any money on anything. And so one way to provide support is by having something you would auction off and then put that money in the donation box, or in some ways provide it to us.
And we had a couple of people last year that were willing to go over to the horse farms and buy a couple of ricks of wood you know, for the fire while we're all in here gathering and stuff like that. So I mean, that could be somebody's donation as well. They might have a pickup truck that's willing to go over there and do that. I think it's $10 or $15 a rick or something like that.
So there are different ways to provide donations to the cost of this. As you know, there are no vendors here, and the money we've collected really helps us put this on.
So basically, what he's saying is all the people that were here last year donated, paid for this year. So let's give those people a big round of applause from last year. What's going to happen this year so we're gonna have the group meal will be tonight, and did we decide a time on that,
Yes.
John?
We do have a schedule posted right here.
There's a schedule there,
It's at 6 PM,
at 6 PM,
potluck.
and depending on what side of the camp you're on, it's a different time. So what we're gonna do is a half hour before the potluck, we'll make an announcement on that.
I'm gonna actually suggest that people can make things after camp since we have so many people here.
And just bring it up,
And then just bring it up here.
everybody bring a plate for that, we'll do that, and we'll have another group meal at the closing of the camp.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Okay,
Question?
on the time issue though, can we say it's 6 PM Eastern time?
Yes, 6 PM Eastern,
So we can start cooking.
right, 6
Yeah,
PM.
that's a good idea, yeah.
Yeah.
Because depending on where you are, your phones will pick up Eastern or
Right.
Central.
So if you are in A loop, that was what we learned last year,
Yeah.
your cell phones may hit the tower on the other direction and get central. And then if you're over here, it'll switch. So just keep in mind it's gonna be Eastern, and then that's a scenario can happen.
Okay.
What's
Yeah.
that now?
Well, the time, my phone is actually doing the live feed, so.
Right now, I've got, 321, and then if I go on the other side of the camp, it's actually 221, so there. So we got that figured out. Anybody that wants to teach a class, or anybody interested in doing that, talk to John, put that in the schedule. Then we'll have, we're gonna have the morning announcement, or afternoon announcement, say what class is gonna be when, what time that's gonna happen.
And so that way, communicate that to John, he'll put it in the schedule, and then once it's in the schedule, we'll have an announcement before that, but it's also gonna be written down.
Yeah, and we'll make it in a morning announcement, announcing what's going on that entire day.
So that's what we're gonna use that white.
By the, at the end of the middle too.
Yeah.
And
So-
take a head count and see if all really wants to do it. And if, we got some people want to do it,
We'll do it.
we'll go do it. It's just over a mile, it's not that big of a deal.
Same thing with the hike tomorrow and the overnight, whatever, it's gonna go with that.
We will use the whiteboard over there for the schedule, so as we come up with things, we'll just go ahead and fill it out.
Yeah, so it might fill up pretty quick.
And then you got ideas, bring them out, you know?
So, well, I know, a couple people will teach, you gonna do something this year?
Robert's
Maybe.
pretty much a fire master.
Robert's the fire
He loves to
master.
set in on stuff like that.
Brian, talking to do the Nesbit fire or anything like that, yeah, we're calling you out, Brian, we see you over there. We've got somebody else in here.
Everybody knows something.
And we got some
Now,
stuff, Carl.
now, we have somebody who I think is receiving the distance award. Who would be receiving the
Yeah, Doc's
distance
right
award?
there.
It's fixed.
You might do something for first aid, it's up to him. And then we got Roy, talking about rock climbing, caving, cave safety.
What time are you gonna make the morning announcement so we can plan to?
These guys get up early, so it's probably about 8 or 9 o'clock. And maybe even before that, so, yeah, you'll know, and it'll be announced throughout the day, like around
And we
12.
might even have, some decisions made by the end of the potluck this evening too, so.
What's gonna happen there?
Okay,
Can we have a kit demonstration? Because I've got some kits from the UK.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Ian's gonna be
Kelly
baking the cake
Kettle
as
and
well.
the complete DD range of hammock.
Yeah, we're gonna brother, bring your backpack up here and kind of show what everybody's using in their kit. Peter right there is all the way from the UK, he traveled the furthest. Round of applause, Peter.
this is your second time coming here.
Second time he's been here.
And first time to eat cornbread.
I don't learn.
And I'll tell you, on most of the trails, Caveman, Smelling Roses, if you got any questions about some of the trail system, I think they've hiked the majority of it by now. So if you got any questions, talk to them guys right there. We have anything else?
I've got a medical kit I put together, if somebody wants to look at that,
Yeah, we can look at that later.
for emergency
Yeah.
medical purposes, backwoods.
Yeah, so there's a lot of stuff that can be done.
A lot of stuff. Talk to Jonathan and we'll figure out a schedule so that this lays out that then people be able to do what
Yeah.
they.
Yeah, get bored, just don't set at camp unless you just want to, but,
I mean, if you wanna take a
meet some
siesta.
people.
Yeah.
See their camps and their setups and talk a little bit. Come down and see us.
Yeah. Any other questions? Anybody want to add anything? Because remember, this is your event. We just kind of provide the facility. Go ahead, Peter.
Do you want to take a show of hands to see who wants to do the night walk, the short one?
We're gonna do that right at
Probably
the
based
potluck.
on weather and all that stuff.
Yeah, the potluck, but the way it's looking, we're probably gonna do it tonight.
Yeah.
The weather's gonna be good.
And Ken likes to, wants to talk about some, night vision type stuff.
You know,
and-
in the night hike, we would talk a little bit about night hike safety and some tips about doing that.
And maybe some ghost stories, Bill.
Maybe, you never
He's
know.
got a couple good ones. And anybody else wants to add to it? So is there any other questions? Nothing? Nothing at all? Well, nothing, Darby? You have nothing for us this year?
Come on, Darby.
Nothing?
Nothing.
No, wow. I'm just picking on Darby because he stole my bear this morning. All right.
Before we conclude, there's one thing that I want to celebrate this event with. And this is something that was done by the Native Americans since the early years. When tribes would get together from different places, and if they were generating peace agreements or making important decisions, they took a ceremonial drink that they called black tea. And when the Spanish came to Florida, the Spanish were given the black tea and they made peace agreements and they learned a lot. And these peace agreements meant a great deal to the Native Americans. And the tea was very important. This tea, this black tea drink, Yopon, only grows natively along the Gulf Coast. And it is the only tea leaf, or the only leaf, that has both caffeine and antioxidants in North America. The Spanish loved it. They took the leaves by the hundreds and hundreds of pounds, maybe thousands of pounds, back to Spain. It was a fabulous drink because it gave you a lot of energy. And, of course, that was the caffeine. It was used by the Native Americans before making decisions by the elders. It celebrated peace, purity, and friendship. And it was taken only in this very important way. And I know that some Native Americans are a little bit unhappy that some of the rest of us modern people are using this drink in a very casual way because it tastes like green tea. In fact, it now sells for $10 an ounce. Let's see. This is 1 ounce. That would sell for $10. You can buy it on the internet now. What is important, if you look at the history of this, is thinking about what it represents. And as a group that is interested in historical approaches and learning things done traditional ways, it is appropriate to start this event with a gift to all of you of a little bit of this tea. And you don't have to drink it if you don't want to. WebMD says it's safe and it's sold commercially, but I want to celebrate this event with this tea, and certainly we have enough tea packets for everyone to have one. And again, don't drink this unless you want to. And if you have allergies, all of those cautions we have today. But take the tea in celebration of peace, purity, and friendship. I have a little bit of history about that tea, and we know that it was traded widely because recent chemical analysis of the pottery of Native Americans from all over the Americas, even in the West, in California and Arizona and all over, there are pottery samples that contain residues that only can be traced to this plant. And so it was traded from tribe to tribe. So I am going to make a pot of it tonight for those of you who want to taste it. And then each of you can pick up one package if you would like to.
It is right over there.
It's over there.